Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie from StoryADay here. What if your writing could really help someone? This week I became aware of a project from fantasy writer Brandon Sanderson. He's come up with a challenge coin that can help anyone struggling with depression. It's a beautiful collectible, and B, it has a QR code on the back that can help people with mental illness. And if you are someone who's dealing with that, you can get the coin for free. And there's a link in the accompanying blog post for this podcast where you can find that. If, on the other hand, you just like Brandon Sanderson and want to support his work or collect all the things, they've provided a link where you can buy the coin too. There's no test. You're invited to self-select. So here's the point of mentioning this, apart from the fact that it can help people get help. I'm a big fan of encouraging people to write for its own sake, for the rewards that you get from the process. But that doesn't mean I think you're somehow selling out if you want to make a living from your craft, like Brandon Sanderson. In fact, if that's your path, I hope you get stinking rich. I hope you make a fortune from your writing, because I think writers are exactly the kind of people who should be successful and rich. Brandon Sanderson is an example of how that success can look in the hands of someone who spends all their time thinking about what makes humans tick, i.e. writers. Dreams of fortune and fame and all the good you'll do with them are lovely, and they can be inspiring in tough times when you're staring at the fourth revision of a manuscript and wondering if you're making it better or worse, for example. But you do still have to do the actual work. Sanderson didn't become rich and successful on the strength of having written one book one time. He writes a lot, obsessively, in fact. You don't have to write obsessively in order to become successful. There are plenty of examples of people who have a slightly more balanced approach and still do fine, but you do have to write. Actually writing, really revising, and courageously engaging with the publishing industry and readers have to be serious activities for you if you want success as a writer that goes beyond the internal satisfaction of having written. So another lesson from Brandon Sanderson that I've noticed over the years is that he doesn't try and do it alone. He works to develop his own style, and then he went to conferences to learn the business. He formed a podcast with other writers to share what they knew with their community of writer admirers. He formed a company to deal with the growing business demands of being a prolific and successful author. In his announcement about this new challenge coin, I noticed a lot of we language. He came up with the idea, but it was clear that there's a team behind him, coming up with smart ideas like what should go on the resource page, what to do about the tension between their desire to give coins away to people who really need them for free, and also satisfy the people who just wanted to have the coin because they're collectors or fans. They worked as a team to figure that out. It wasn't up to him to do everything, and for us that can apply too. The myth of the solitary writer is just that. It's a myth. The only stories about truly solitary writers that I can think of are stories that don't end well. Whereas any successful modern author's acknowledgement section runs to several pages. Here in StoryADay land, we get together to write every May, together, taking on this huge, ridiculous challenge just to see what we're made of. We post about our successes and our less than successes. We share, we commiserate, and we also, throughout the rest of the year, do workshops. We hang out together. We have co-working writing dates together, because doing this together is way more fun and way more sustainable. I hope that you have a community of supportive writers around you. And if not, keep your eye on your inbox, because I'm going to be sending you some invitations, if you're on the StoryADay list, to get together with the StoryADay community. As someone who's been leading a community of writers and a challenge since 2010, which is quite a while now, I've learned a thing or two about how to help people remain connected to their writing and set goals that really excite them and motivate them and are realistic and fit into their lives. I've been running some of those sessions for the StoryADay Superstars, the smaller core community here at StoryADay. And I'm going to open up one of those sessions over the next couple of weeks to the wider StoryADay community. So if you are thinking about what you got done this year, what you like to get done next year, and you don't have an existing workable plan for coming up with and sticking to your goals, I'm going to invite you to come and join us in that process. So if you're not already on the StoryADay mailing list, come over to storyaday.org, put your email address in one of those boxes on the page somewhere, and get yourself on the list, and I'll send you an invitation to spend some time with us over the next couple of weeks going through the process I've come up with. I talk about these PACE goals, that I've a way to think through what goals you're setting. We'll actually do a working session where you can work through reviewing your year and coming up with a plan for next year that actually fits your preferences, your priorities, your lifestyle, your ultimate outcome, not some random idea of what a writer should be doing, but something that's actually going to make you happy. So get on the list. I'll send you information about that. I'm just opening it up to the StoryADay community because I want to get you started, and I want to show you what it's like to be part of that smaller core community. If you need something like that, this is an amazing place to hang out with other writers who know what it's like and who will support you on your journey. Either way, I hope this has been helpful and that you have a wonderful, creative and productive writing week. Keep writing. And while you're thinking about how to have that wonderful writing week, here is a writing prompt from the archives. This one was first published on day 8 of StoryADay, May 2018, and it's all about conflict. Without conflict or friction in your story, nothing interesting will happen and readers will stop reading. So today we're going to focus on making sure 2 opposing forces run into each other in your story or whichever scene you're writing this week. So the prompt is to put your character into a mundane, everyday situation and then introduce a strong element of conflict. And your tips: the conflict can be external, say they're driving to work and boom, a car crashes sideways into them, setting off a bizarre chain of events that matters because you supply the answer to that. Or the conflict might be internal. They're making coffee and reflecting on how life has been difficult since their mother got sick, and because of that, your story moves forward. Make sure that something happens and that this story isn't just your character thinking all the time. Keep adding different types of conflict while trying to deal with the initial problem. For example, the person whose car was rammed is now teetering on the edge of a cliff and has to climb out, all the while dealing with a crippling fear of heights caused by a childhood incident that was... Now, obviously, all of this doesn't have to end up actually on the page, but it's fun to do these thought experiments as you think about why the events of your story are unfolding the way that they are, and how would your specific character react to the things that are happening. Not just any character, but your specific character. These conflicts don't have to be as dramatic as a car crash. They can be something as simple as life is difficult because of something that's happening to them right now that they have no control over, and it's impacting and interacting with all of the internal stuff that they carry around with them, just as we all do. So that's my plea to you this week, to write a story or a scene where your character is in what seems like a mundane and everyday situation, and you find a way to introduce some conflict into that moment that doesn't have to be a big fight, it doesn't have to be a big dramatic action scene, it's just something that's making them uncomfortable and that the reader's going to care about. Happy writing. Do you ever go to your desk to write and find you have no idea what to do? You want to make every session count. You want to complete works that you're proud to share and reach others' hearts the way your favourite authors touched yours. If you want to become a more confident writer, you can always make the most of whatever time you have to write, you're the exact person I created the StoryADay Challenge Handbook for. A collection of 31 story lessons and prompts, each with a warm-up exercise and a brainstorming exercise, the StoryADay Handbook creates a powerful training plan for your writing practice. To find out more, come to storyaday.org/challenge-handbook. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at storyaday.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, have a great creative week and of course, keep writing.